That's right, folks. The music has announced me. Here I am. Yep, cold Kansas City. And the Kansas City Chiefs were cold on the Houston Texans today. Rather, shall I say, the Houston Texans put some ice on their own uh, anatomy today, and it started off in the wrong way. The Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, going for a three-peat. We already have completed their first tack in getting the divisional round, defeated the Houston Texans this afternoon, 23-14. Uh, where do you begin on this one? Because when you get down to the bottom line, the Texans played the Texans, and then they had to play the Kansas City Chiefs today. And some folks might say, well, they had to play the referees too. Uh, I'm not the one. If you expect, and I'm gonna sit here and say the Texans lost on account of the referees today. Wrong program. Go watch somebody. Go somewhere else. Okay, because I'm not making that alibi. I'm not making that excuse. The Texans were their own worst enemy today. Starting off with the kickoff, special teams. Kaimi Fairbairn, -7, missed a field goal, missed a PAT, and had a blocked field goal. That's 7 points, folks, right there. Started the game, kickoff. For some unknown reason, Chris Boyd yanks his helmet off coming off the field. And that gives the Kansas City Chiefs 15 yards further down the field. They already had a nice kickoff return. And for some inexplicable reason, Chris made the tackle, but he yanked his helmet off coming off the field. And that one unsportsmanlike conduct, and the Kansas City Chiefs were off and running. Albeit they only got a field goal out the deal. And for about the first half, we basically went field goal, then they got another field goal. The Houston Texans defense was stout today. The Houston Texans offensive line was not as stout. C.J. Stroud had 8 sacks today. The Kansas City Chiefs collected 8 sacks off the Houston Texans offensive line today. During the offseason, they're going to have to be some serious thought process and changes made. I don't. You can anticipate this right now. I'm not saying who's going to be gone, who's going to stay, but I think I can state unequivocally that even with the injuries and everything that has happened with the Texans offensive line, you won't see the offensive line that finished that game today. I think I can safely say that offensive line will not be the same offensive line that will start the 2025 season. Not as the way it's constituted. There's going to have to be some changes, and I think that offensive line is going to have to, in my humble opinion, it's going to have to possess the same nasty attitude that the Texans defensive line possesses, and nasty and getting after folks and just being just downright nasty and ornery. Joe Mixon had made 1,000 yards rushing this year. There's a lot of things that are pluses and minuses, but I think that the offensive line has to establish itself. It has to establish with other teams, particularly when Texans going to be playing another first place schedule in 2025, and so this is what's going to have to happen. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. That they are going to have to match intensity with intensity. They're going to have to match the same intensity that you see that the Texans defensive line brings forth. That's all the way across the front. The Texans got hold of Pat Mahomes today, 3 sacks and a couple of questionable roughing the passes, and I'm gonna say that. And I'm not saying that as an alibi, as I stated earlier. I am not going to sit up here and say the referees took the game from the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans added to the problem because of their own ineptness in not being able to keep C.J. Stroud standing up. And Spagnuolo today I thought for the most part they were able to work around some issues, but Spagnuolo from the game they had December the 20th up here, he showed some more creative blitzes and some blitz packages that he brought, and guys coming free right up the middle or coming free off the corner. Plus the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs, that they were well rested, and they showed a little rust earlier, but this was a typical Chiefs victory as they've been all season. The push on the line was 9. They would push, the game finished at 9. Last 2 points because the Chiefs gave the Texans a safety by running out the end zone. Well, he ran out the side. He did run out the end zone. Well, you ran out the side. That matters not. But the Texans got some kind of running, but it's got to be more consistency there. It's got to be a sense of urgency. And as I get and as I run my interviews I had in the locker room, yeah, it was not pretty sight, because there are no more games. The Texans are done. They'll have their meetings on Monday. They'll meet with the team. Teams will clear out their lockers, and it's over with. It's done. But that's the way it is in the NFL. That's what happened, even when you're on the road or wherever you go, because it's quite obvious the Washington Commanders have a clear understanding of the sense of urgency and what they need to get done, because I'm not mistaken, they are waylaying, or have already waylaid the Detroit Lions. So the Lions will be washing their uniform. But I don't take great joy in that. I'm not taking great glee in the fact, well, the Texans lost somebody. It doesn't work like that. The Texans had a golden opportunity today, and I wanted to see what they might have learned from the December game up here. First thing, they need to learn how to have comport themselves, have their own composure. They need to at the end of the day, folks, that has to be a controlled aggression, and it's got to be controlled in a smart and not doing stupid stuff. Okay, that's it. Let's listen to Coach D'Amico Ryans, when he was asked about the 8 sacks and that situation.
On the offensive line, got guys free, and somebody just didn't pick them up.
With the sacks, from what I saw, is first off, like, you're 1-on-1. In the playoff, you got to win your 1-on-1 battles. That's what the game always comes down to. Like, you have to man up and own your 1-on-1. You have to have some pride in who you're blocking to get it done and give the quarterback a chance to throw the football.
I couldn't have said it any plainer than that. And this is probably the most strident that I think D'Amico Ryans has been on his team, in a loss, and because he's not the typical coach that just throws you under the bus. This is probably as close as he's going to come in throwing his team under the bus, and that includes the bus. He's the bus driver, and he's probably throwing himself under the bus as well. But but at a certain point, you got to man up, as they state, man up and be prepared to meet the challenge. They didn't get it done today, and the opportunities were there. All 3 phases of the game. I want to say more like 2 phases, but you really, when the defense really needed it, because the offense came out at the start of the third quarter, had a long 10-play plus drive, and got on the board and scored up, but blew the PAT. So that was special teams. And so all phases, as I stated, all phases. But so they pretty much kept the ball for well over 10 minutes. I think it was a 10 minutes and 11-second drive, and for about 14 plays, and went down and scored on PAT. Did fail, and in that north end zone, when we were swirling, and something I'd asked Frank Ross about earlier the weekend that I played on, had about how that winds could swift. Now, Buckner he didn't have any problems on that same end. For some reason, Kaimi that had issues on that north end. What was very unique and strange about sitting there, if you watch the flags on the north end of that end zone, those flags were blowing due north. However, it swirls and the wind picked it and pushed the ball well to the right. Buckner, I mean, he kicks in the stadium all the time, so obviously, I think he has a better understanding, better grasp of what's going on. But as far as this situation is concerned, um, the Texans just they did not meet the full challenge. I think Tim Settles and you're gonna hear this a lot, and I think there's a pretty frankness about these guys and the way they and the way it's talking about it. It's Tim Settles Jr. and questions put to him.
We cut the film on. There's a couple of plays we wish we could have got back, especially on defense. That's lack of execution, but in these games you gotta be able to take advantage of those plays. Most of the time the winning team is the one that be able to make those plays that count, and they made more plays that counted than us.
That's it. Bottom line, and were the Kansas City Chiefs the juggernaut that we've seen in the past? No. I can very well conceivably Baltimore or the Buffalo Bills could conceivably come in here and defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. But I tell you what, if they make the mistakes like the Texans made today, they're not going to do it. I think C.J. Stroud today, I mean, fairly decent way when he wasn't running, but he used his legs a lot more today than I think even CJ would like to have purported to utilize his legs today. But he done out of the say necessity. He had to use his legs today, because that really wasn't a whole lot of time that he could just stay in the pocket and just feel comfortable. There was the Kansas City Chiefs did a very good job of just disrupting CJ's, the momentum, the swings, and they didn't give no quarters today, and so you tip your hats off to them. That's why they are the defending Super Bowl champions, and that's why they're going for the three-peat. Now, there was, and I mentioned earlier about those questionable roughing the passes call, and so the Pro Football Writer pool reporter Aaron Wilson interviewed referee Clay Martin. The question, that was a roughing the passer call on Will Anderson. Can you just take me through the call and what was in your mind that constituted the call? That was the first quarter, 7-minute mark, 3rd and 8 at the Kansas City 33-yard line. Martin, I had forcible contact to the face mask area, so I went with roughing the passer on that play. If you go back and listen to Troy Aikman, and Troy Aikman is probably as good an analyst, and that he played the quarterback position. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Troy Aikman shredded the referees on these calls. He flat out shredded them on it. Question later in the game, that was a situation where it appeared when you slow down the tape, when you slow down, two Texans players collided, and it didn't look like they made any sort of contact with Patrick Mahomes. That's when Patrick was running, and then all of a sudden he went into a slide. And what was his perspective? Two Texas players collided. It didn't look like they made any contact with Patrick Mahomes. What was your perspective on it? This question, referee Clay Martin. I know it was a bang play. It was going fast, but what did you see on the play? 3rd quarter, 152, 1st and 10, Kansas City Chiefs 35-yard line. Martin, yeah, absolutely. So he slid. So obviously when he slides, he is considered defenseless. The onus is on the defender. I had forcible contact there to the hairline. So in other words, to the helmet. Well, if he had forcible, as it stands, both Texas players can hit themselves. I'm not sure which Clay Martin was looking at, but okay. I think that this is one rule in the off season, I hope that they really thrash it out and come back to some consensus, because we realize the quarterbacks and teams want to protect their quarterbacks. We want the Texans want to see C.J. Stroud protected. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs, they want to see Patrick Mahomes. But that there's a lot of fudging on the rule. They playing it on the edge, and if you're allowing these quarterbacks to play on the edge, then when all of a sudden when they get popped, and then everybody want to go like, oh wait a minute, that's roughing the passer. Because what I contend, and here's what I contend on the second roughing the passer, Patrick was a runner. He wasn't a passer anymore. He was just like any other player. He was a runner, and so all of a sudden, when they converged on, oh, I'm a slide, whoop, and then the guys went over them. They hit each other. I disagree with the call. In fact, I disagree with both of the calls, and so did Troy Aikman. And I'm not, again, let me just state for the record, I am not blaming the referees for the Texans malfeasance today on either side of the ball. I'm blaming the Texans for what? Because the game was in their hands to win, and they didn't get it done today. Final point, and I want to get let Will Anderson Jr. and be the last interview I want to run, but there's a question I put to Will after he met the press today, or this afternoon after the game.
Cried, man, because I love this team.
Will, how does it feel? I mean, there's no game tomorrow now. This is it. That finality of this being it and the season done for you.
Yeah, I cried, man, because I love this team, but I love the D-line. Man, that's a special group right there, man. I'm going into my second year. I don't have any big brothers, and those guys welcome me with open arms, and they're new here, and they trust me to be their leader. They trust me to be their captain, man, and to be able to call those guys my big brothers, it's always going to be in my heart, and I love balling with those guys. And I feel like we put it on tape every week. I feel like we put it out there. We are attack front, and that's who we were up front, and I love it.
Bottom line, like I said, the Texans got a lot of stuff to build on. I mean, the bricks are in place, the foundation is in place. Right, coach. You got a strong contingency of players. Now, I'll say this right now: 25% of this roster, that was in 25% of that roster that walked out of Arrowhead Stadium tonight won't be there at the start of training camp next year. That's it. That is the NFL, folks. So at least roughly 25% of that roster, because it would they will be gone by either got some players, might be some couple of players going to be retiring. There was going to be some players whose contract have expired. Then you're going to be then draft class to be coming in. And then free agency. All of this is going to be part of that menagerie that's going to constitute the new Houston Texans. 2 years. So what can we expect coming up? Well, I'll tell you what. Obviously, and not trying to sound like a dry, broken record, but there's got to be some serious consideration into showing up the offensive line. I think there's some pieces there. There are some very good pieces, and I think they got to get stronger. This Titus going to stay in guard. Is going to go back to tackle. There at center guards. The guard, the up in the middle there. The Texans have got to figure out. And ostensibly speaking, you probably got 1/5 on the offensive line that you can just say put your hat on at this very moment right now. Maybe 1/5 or 2/5. And some of the same issues we talked about coming into the beginning of this season. How well can the Texans face expectation? Because they will be playing the AFC West, and the NFC West and all the other first place scheduled teams in the upcoming season. We just don't know the schedule time. So, folks, hey, I appreciate it. Get ready to wrap it up because it's been a long day, and for me, I was sort of up at 3:00 this morning. I've been rolling. I flew in today, and I hope probably some of y'all probably saw some of the nice, pretty snowy scenes flying into Kansas City, and it was unique to see it. It's cold here. I still got my coat on and everything else because it was nice. It was cold, and where I had to park at was probably we hear folks. I guarantee I was at least 3/4 of a mile from the stadium just that was it. The way the Chiefs and they parking around the area. But it was worth the walk. Whether walking in there, it was worth the walk. I'm not gonna say that. It was a long. That walk got a little bit longer trying to leave in the stadium coming back tonight. But anyway, as it stands, as I mentioned, Houston Texans season over. They had a final team meeting and meeting with the respective coaches and players, and then D'Amico Ryans will meet with the public, meet with the press and media on Monday. I intend to be there. Inauguration day, MLK Day, and also we anticipating that as cold as it is here, and we're probably anticipating that that Arctic blast to be coming down probably tomorrow, and just getting progressively colder. So as we get ready to shut it down from Kansas City, this is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore. By the way, folks, this is not the end of it me because I will, as I mentioned earlier, I'm credentialed. We will be in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. So I will be down there reporting from the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and probably will have some highlights done after the AFC, after the conference championship round. Might have a quick lightning round at the end of next week. But without further ado, hey, I appreciate you for the whole season. Thank you all for listening. And over there, by the way, if you got a shout, go look at the numbers. Folks are just like to want to spend a little money and continue to say sponsor the round ball. Oh, by the way, as I mentioned, I am going to the Super Bowl. So anybody would like to do some advertising on the shows while I'm down in the Super Bowl, feel free to give me a call, hook me up, make contact. Contact my send a note to my deal here. And without further ado, so as we call it a night, call it a day. Thank you for everything, and thank you for just showing up. I appreciate it, folks. I appreciate y'all and everything for the season. So the Texans season's done. But it's not the last for me. But as the game, stay again. Ciao, peace. I'm getting ready. I'm out of here. I'm up early in the morning, flying. I'm bringing the cold air with me because, and right now I think it's about It's not quite single digits, but I think it's down to about maybe 18 or 19. But they ain't talking about coming down to 2 degrees, not tonight, but tomorrow night. I hope it won't get that cold in Houston. Ugh. Anyway. I've been in worse, but anyway, your man Adolphus A.D. Moore signing off. And by the way, get ready for the Let's Talk Rockets basketball because Chris Gardner will be coming up on the Houston Roundball Review talking about the Rockets. I don't know did they win or lose tonight, but whatever. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna hand it off to Chris, and he'll be coming up in a few minutes. And so, my prediction on the Super Bowl champs. CA37. Let me let me talk about that next week after the conference championship. Listen, and then but as of right now, I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, because the road to the New Orleans as far as the AFC side definitely coming through Kansas City, and everybody's going to have their A game. So let me see, and I'll give you a shout next week, and I'll be. I appreciate you asking the question, but let's see who the winner's going to be. But as I stated, the AFC side is definitely coming through. Got to come through Kansas City. whether it's the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens, they got to come some because they need to bring it. So we'll see if that's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you for the comments. And anyway, as I stated, I'm out of here. Getting ready to go grab me a little shut eye, and then I'll be back up rolling early in the morning because I've got an early flight coming back to Houston. So I'm bringing a Yankee clip or a Yankee Northern one with me. The North Air, the Arctic Blast is coming with me because they definitely have it up here. Anyway, I'm out, folks. Take care. Ciao. We are done.